Hello, everybody. I'm Gabriel Flores, aka Maybe Lee. Today's episode is going to, just like all other episodes, is going to feature two main points. And we're getting closer to the finale. And so I just want you guys to keep posted for that. Stick around for the finale. If you haven't already done so, go back to my playlist, and check out the other episodes so you can get caught up on the stuff we've already discussed. The finale is in about 10, 12 days, and last 2 days. And the finale is like the mountain in my life, and features a famous producer. There's a climax that leads up to the finale, and the climax is like the culmination of all my secrets to this life. And so, the talk show is going to start getting really exciting, and we're going to start getting onto some topics that I really enjoy and that I think is worthy of a climax and of a finale. And it's going to kind of end on a positive note as well, because uh, well, I guess you could consider it positive, but it depends on how you look at it. I think it's a positive lesson learned in my life, but other people can think of a mountain as something that's negative, that's standing in your way. Or you can look at a mountain as a piece of the geography and something that distinguishes the land that you're on, or something like that. So it all depends on how you think about that, but I don't want to get into any more detail. I think, as of right now, I think the finale is going to be a positive. Is going to be positive. I think we're going to end positive, but that could change from now until then, because, like I said, there's about 10, 12 days until the finale. So, um, and basically, a little bit about this show. This talk show is all the episodes are pre-planned. Both topics for every episode is pre-planned ahead of time, and each morning of airing, I'll compile all my thoughts and ideas about what I'm going to talk about, and then every day at 4 o'clock I start recording, or at 3:30 I start preparing and reviewing the stuff I was going to talk about, and then 4 o'clock we start airing, and we do 17-minute episodes. And so, you guys, every episode I pretty much go over the same stuff about this show. I just kind of want to do that every time so I can kind of reinforce what I'm doing here every single day, what I've been doing, and also to have benchmarks and stuff like that I'm aiming for, that I'm striving to achieve. Is it going to pay off in the long run? Does it mean anything other than, proving to myself that I can do it? Who knows? But that's what I'm doing, and that's what's getting done. So, I want to explain for a second how I write raps. Um, my primary endeavor these days is writing raps. I never intended really to be a rapper, but I do like poetry. I do like rap and stuff like that, and these days, because I'm unemployed, I really need a hobby and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it came about for me. Most recently, embarking on a journey of really just digging in and writing a lot of raps. So I just want to kind of go over that process, because, like I said, I never have written raps before. And I never intended to write raps. It's just it's like a hobby for me. But as of right now, I would like to turn it into a career, because rap, gangster rap, hip hop, makes up a large portion of my life. And so, it only makes sense for something that important to be a part of one's career, at least in my mind. But I'm open for pretty much anything. I'm willing to help out in any arena or any avenue. I'm willing to get my hands dirty and put in elbow grease and stuff like that wherever I'm needed. But, if it was my wish, I would work in the rap industry. That would be my number one job. And I think I'm pretty good at writing raps because I have a lot of ideas and I understand what rap is. I know what it sounds like. And so, like I said yesterday, basically when I write raps, I have to get in the mindset that I'm writing a rap. And these days, I have basically a template of what I'm writing from, because I'm working on a soundtrack to a comic book story that I'm creating myself. I'm doing a comic book story, and I'm doing a soundtrack, a gangster rap soundtrack to the comic book. So I'm not expending a lot of time into the soundtrack itself, into like explaining what it is, like really getting a single sentence that really just grasps the entire comic book or the idea that I have in my head. Basically, I just explained what it is, real simple. Just like I'm talking to somebody. This is a soundtrack for the comic book Utopia, which is about a world that exists somewhere in the Andromeda Galaxy and is a shining example for the galaxy because it's a perfect world. Everybody there has what they want, everybody's happy. It's a good world, and blah, blah, blah. So that's basically how I did it. But the mindset I had when I did it was in a gangster rap setting. So, and it all makes sense. It's all my ideas and stuff like that. That it didn't come from anywhere else. It's all coming from something that I wanted to create. And so I started it like that. For the way I did the soundtrack is the idea behind it, and it didn't necessarily develop in this order, but the soundtrack is a push and pull between the rapper myself being able to execute the soundtrack and not talking so much about himself. And so the entire soundtrack is me trying to explain do the soundtrack for the comic book, and then also my innate desire, my just the inevitable thing inside of me that urges me to talk about myself and to insert myself into everything that's being done is kind of the overall picture that I'm trying to write there. And so that's why each verse, and so what I did is I made a template. I'm doing a thing, 9 songs for the soundtrack, and they're all pretty much the same, because it's just easier that way. And I'm just trying to find something that sounds good, maybe just one song that's going to be the soundtrack. And so that's why I have this template, and I just repeat the template for every single song, and then I'm going to go back and listen to them and just see what the best one is. And maybe if I go forward with it, then I'll just put the best one with the comic book, or I'll just leave it how it is. I don't really care. But the template, the way I did it, since it's like the theme of it is the push and pull between the artist being able to execute what he's supposed to execute, and not being selfish and talking about himself. And because, and also people need to understand that they can take themselves out of the equation and be able to talk about something else in an intelligent manner. So a lot of people know that or realize that you can talk about something else and not have to relate to it and say, yeah, I've actually done this, this, and this, and it's just like that. You can just talk about what you see and you can explain it in an intelligent manner, and it's totally valid. And so, this rapper, me, myself, is having a hard time understanding that. Why he was selected for the soundtrack, I don't know, but he was. And so the way I did the template is I did a paragraph that explains what the comic book is, and then I did a paragraph explaining who the rapper is, and I break each paragraph into 3 parts. So the part about the comic book is in 3 different parts. The part about the rapper myself is in 3 parts. And so for each verse has 2 parts. Part 1 to verse 1 will be the first sentence about the comic book. And then part 2 of verse 1 will be the sentence about about myself, the rapper, the selfish part. And then I do that for verse 2 and verse 3. And then there's a bridge and stuff like that. And so for each verse, I just go through the same process. I write down what I originally wrote to start out with. And then when I write the actual verse, I'll make changes or I'll write something that sounds a little bit better or change this, change that. But I don't ever change the original paragraphs that I wrote. I keep those the same and I just keep referring back to them for each song. And that's how I write the verse, write the verses. The chorus, the way I do the chorus is whatever I gather from verse one from both parts, whatever I gather from that is the chorus, and then I use that for all three of them. And for some of the songs, I'm using a instrumental that I used for a different song that I created, but I'm using the instrumental and the title, and I'm using the other song's title in the soundtrack song, and I integrate it into the song in a special way that I think sounds cool, that I think makes it cool. So that's something a little bit unique about some of the songs is it's actually the soundtrack, and then it takes parts from another song that I created and integrates it into the soundtrack song to show you that, see, you can just take a random idea out there and incorporate it into what you're currently doing, and it'll make sense. Because there's nothing really, there's no idea in this world that's going to be wrong that you could come up with, because you and me, we're good people, and so basically we can't really say anything that's wrong, and I don't want people to be afraid to speak their mind because they think it's the wrong thing to say or it doesn't make sense. You can't say anything that's not ever going to make sense is the main point I really want to stress to my audience out there, because I care about you guys. And then and so that's basically the gist of that thing right there. But also, I'm just trying to use up all of my beats that I haven't used, because these beats that were used on another song, I didn't actually use the entire beat. I only used a portion of it for this one song, these one songs that I did, and then I went back later at a later date and created an entire song from that just a little segment that I used. The original piece was just a little small snippet of sound, but then I went back at a later date and I turned it into an entire instrumental song sounding type thing. And I haven't used it for anything, so I figured I want to go through my list of all of my unused instrumentals. But you know, those instrumentals have titles on them because I used the smaller snippet for this other song, so it's saved with that title. So I just figured, you know what, I'm gonna save. I'm not gonna throw away the work that I've done on that, but I'm just going to use it into this song and stuff like that. Try to keep it honest with that, and that was my thinking when I kept the title. And then the bridge. In the bridge, I explain what I'm doing in the sound in the song. That it's a push and pull between me trying to execute the soundtrack and not talking about myself so much. And that's the bridge. It just explains the theme of the song, my idea for the theme, and I just explain it in regular terms. There's a way that you could do it without explaining it directly, but it takes too much time, too much hard work. I don't have that time. I don't have that type of time, and I don't feel like expending that type of effort into something that's just a hobby. That's really not that important to me, but just a hobby. It's just fun. I've never heard a rapper artist explain how they write raps, but the closest you're gonna get is to this is by checking out this cat. His name's Ryan Leslie. Go to www.youtube.com and search Ryan Leslie in studio. Ryan Leslie in studio. Click the search button, and I'm gonna give you some of his songs to listen to. The ones that you're going to want to listen to are Realize, You Be Killing Them, uh, Hello, 5 Minute Freshen Up, Beautiful Lie, A Beautiful Lie, or Beautiful Lie, I'll Still Be Yours, Fast Life, and Waiting. Check out those 8. And this is basically, this is the closest I've seen a artist. He's kind of a rapper, but he's a rapper and an R&B singer. But this is the closest I've ever seen anybody get to explaining how they do their work. As far as how I tried to give you specific details, but it's pretty hard to explain something that you're doing. But I think it's an important thing to do. I think it's way important to do it. And from my view, I don't think it's a bad business decision for people to give out their specific details on the way that they're doing things, because it's just important to be able to do that for your audience to see that, yeah, see, this is actually the type of stuff that I'm doing. I can't even explain it really that good either. But you see the material I put out or something. So I think it's important on that level, and for a personal growth level too, to be able to explain what you're doing is going to just help you be a better person. And so he goes into, it's kind of like behind the scenes of how he makes his music. You see him performing and doing his stuff, and he sings a little bit. You see the cats that are behind the scenes with them. And so, it's a pretty close look to how a real artist gets the job done. It's really cool. It's exciting. And, you get a lot of insight into, how he's he's a really good artist. And so you get to see a really good artist at work. It's really cool. Check it out, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time.